Greetings and welcome to Behind the Shadows. My name is Susan Finelli and I am your host and author of Behind the Shadows, a program where we go behind the shadows of what meets the eye. Today we will be going behind the shadows of the Swim Strong Foundation, and our very special guest tonight is Shawn Slevin. Shawn, welcome to Behind the Shadows.
Susan, thank you so much for having me here.
Well, it's my pleasure. You know, I was telling you when we were off air, I had seen you on national television, on the news, and I said to myself, gee, I would love to have her on because it's such a wonderful foundation. I think so, and I think after the show, our audience will agree with me. And about 2 weeks later, before the 2 weeks, actually, I was searching for you. I couldn't find you. And about 2 weeks later, a mutual friend of ours who was a guest on this show sent me an email. She says, you know, a friend of mine, I think she'd be a wonderful guest. And who was it? The Swim Strong Foundation. So it's such a pleasure to have you here tonight. Such
a small world.
Tiny, tiny world. So tell us a little bit about yourself prior to founding the Swim Strong Foundation, and then bring us into the Swim Strong Foundation.
Well, I had a 30-year career as a corporate human resource executive, and while doing that, I also was a volunteer swim coach for a local program that I actually grew up in as a child called St. Sebastian in Woodside, Queens. And I had a phenomenal coach and role model. Her name is Helen Coyne. And when I aged out at the tender age of 13, she asked if I would be interested in helping with the little children who were just learning to swim. And I said, absolutely. And that was the hook that was set.
That's how they got you.
That's how they got me. And it was a 40-year career as a volunteer swim coach for that program, which was a very strong competitive program. And over the course of that time, a number of young men and women had come back to find me and were kind enough to share just how important the work that I had done with them was, and how it helped them in their academic endeavors, how it helped them in their careers, how it helped them now with their families.
With their families, yes.
So that really got me to thinking, if such a good thing could be happening in this little corner of Woodside, Queens, what would happen if we could expand that to the city of New York? And that's what it really inspired me.
So that was your journey that brought you to this Swim Strong Foundation,
yes,
which is a nonprofit organization.
Yes, a 501c3, yes.
It's a great name. How'd you come up with the name?
One of my board members, actually. Although with Shawn Slevin and Swim Strong Foundation, you have to be pretty facile to say that 5 times fast,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the mission of the Swim Strong Foundation. I know there's a great drowning rate, and I don't know, is it the city of New York or is it the country? Let's talk about the drowning rate and water safety and what you're trying to do.
And water safety really is mission number one, prevent the drowning. Yes, even for us here in the United States, which is one of the most advanced countries in the world, still, every day, on average, 10 people die due to drowning.
It's amazing.
It's mind-boggling.
It is. It's mind-boggling.
It is the second largest cause of death for children, 14 and younger.
Do you think that children aren't learning to swim because their parents never learned how to swim?
Well, it's interesting that you ask that question, because initially when I started the foundation, we really were a child-facing organization. In the course of conversation, though, with so many of the parents, we quickly discovered just how many of them didn't swim either, and that, oh my gosh, we need to stop this cycle of generations not swimming. And so last year we invited the parents into the water as well, and now so we work with children as young as 3, and my current oldest student is 85 years young.
Wow, good for
So it's never too late to learn to swim.
Fear of water, is that you think like of the parents and the generations before? I know someone who is in his 70s now. He never learned how to swim because his mother stay away from the water. You're going to drown. Don't go near the water. You're going to drown. So now the guy's terrified. I mean, he's literally terrified of the water.
That certainly is one large factor. I think also accessibility, though, really is another.
Yeah.
You know, swimming lessons are very expensive.
Yes, they are.
If you understand the reason behind it, just to think, to build a pool is expensive.
It's expensive.
Right? To staff the pool, to maintain the pool, all very expensive things. So naturally, when it comes time to providing the lessons, that plays into it. In New York, on average, it costs about $1 a minute to learn to swim.
Oh, that's very expensive.
We are half that price because we are an organization of volunteers.
I see.
That have the passion to do this. We've helped now over 3,500 people learn how to swim and develop good water safety skills, and a third of those were free lessons.
Free lessons, that's wonderful.
Yes.
So, and the families that do pay, is it on a sliding scale of what their ability is?
We're so affordable.
Okay.
We're $15 a half-hour lesson and $30 an hour lesson.
Definitely affordable.
Yes.
Yeah, you're definitely affordable. Let's talk about what swimming does for one in one's life, in addition to being able to save your life.
Well, I think I know I've spoken to a number of teachers, both at the grammar school and at the collegiate level, who have told me, I know my swimmers by their academics.
Interesting.
There is a high correlation between strong academics and particularly competitive swimming. And where that comes from is the organizational skills that are needed to be able to do both things, because you have to do your schoolwork, you have to practice. If you're at an elite level, elite competitive level, you're practicing in the morning, you're practicing in the afternoon, you might also have an evening practice. You've got to balance your schoolwork, your homework, and in some cases, as you get older, work with all of that. So it definitely adds to help people's management, time management and organizational skills, for sure.
Now, do you also preach like good nutrition?
We do.
You do?
Yes. So our mission is really fourfold. It's a little bit like a table. One of the legs certainly is stop the drowning.
Right.
The second is to help families understand the importance of good nutrition coupled with great exercise, such as swimming, because that will help people stay healthy and get in front of these horrible diseases like obesity, these chronic problems,
and
diabetes, heart problems. Swimming is the best coronary, pulmonary, and as we get older, skeletal friendly exercise
when
that
these
one
bones
can
start
do.
cracking.
I tell you, swimming is the one sport, the only sport that is life-saving, number one.
Yes.
And it is the only activity that literally we can do from womb to tomb.
Oh, gee.
Truly.
It's true.
You can swim all your life.
All your life, exactly, exactly. Now, I'm sure that in the pool you teach goals to get 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps, but that goal setting has to transfer to life.
Another brilliant observation, absolutely, particularly as children or even adults are looking to become a little bit more competitive in the way they use their skills. The self-discipline required to challenge oneself, to do the workout, to push the envelopes and the barriers, to really break a sweat in the pool.
In the pool, exactly.
Which you will do if you're, pushing yourself, is really important. And again, that translates. The goal setting translates into the academics, it translates into our work situations, boardroom, schoolroom to boardroom.
To boardroom. Well, also, I'm sure if competitive swimming is involved, so if there's a team, so it teaches teamwork outside of the water.
Yes. Right. And for young children, that's an important lesson too, because we don't necessarily like people on our team, right? We've all, right? But we have to work well with them. And so to learn that lesson at a young age is very important. Yes, to be able to do a particular event that your coach asks you to, even though you think that's not my event, I'm not going to do well, but to take it on for the team. You know, I'm being asked to do this, I'm going to do this for the team. It's important for the team. And to learn that it's not just about you, it's about your contribution to the team. And with our model, our young swimmers, as they develop their skills and competencies, when they reach their teenage years, they are required to teach.
Okay.
So that they pay those skills forward. And so they really are learning about the larger mission of, you know, helping your community. And for them, what they're also learning is that because you can do something well does not mean that you can teach it.
That's right.
At all.
Exactly.
So they are learning teaching skills.
Teaching is a skill.
Communication skills.
Absolutely.
They're really, at the heart of it, learning business readiness skills.
Now, when you're teaching these skills in the water, do you verbally translate it to life, or does it happen by osmosis? Do they get it?
We occasionally have conversations around you know, how it translates into the workforce, etc. Because there are those sometimes subtlety does not.
You need a 2x4
to your advantage. But I think because the students themselves have experienced the interest of their coaches in the course of them learning themselves, they want that. They want that to do that for others.
Right.
I mean, it really is like a self-fulfilling prophecy that when you are able to teach someone and see them blossom and develop, you can't get paid for that feeling. I mean, you cannot. So I think that is definitely a piece of it. And also, again, going back to the responsibility to understand that they have a leadership role now that they're learning to develop as well. On just so many levels. When they, again, get a little bit older, we encourage them, and so far we have over 50 certified lifeguards now out of our programs, many working for the Parks Department on the beaches as well as in the pools.
So they're getting paid?
No joke. Absolutely.
They're getting paid?
Absolutely. We have a few with water safety instruction certificates. We've also helped 2 young men who wanted to join the Coast Guard but couldn't swim, and there is a swimming requirement. They're now in the Coast Guard. One young man went into the Navy, one became a commercial diver. So we're at this wonderful place, Susan, where we're seeing what has been learned is now transforming into skills that can be utilized more broadly into the community and to help the young men and women gain economic independence.
So your vision of water safety has blossomed into
life skills.
Yes, I mean, it's really blossomed.
That's what it is all about. This is the vehicle. Swimming is the vehicle, but it is life skills. Where we are now, to be able to see this developing, we're at this place where our hope is that we can, instead of sending away our talent to get paid, that sometime in the future we will be able to pay them to do some work for us, which will help us develop more programs. We are actually developing a certification program now for our coaches, so to have some senior instructors who will be able to certify others.
Well, will the city, who blesses this for you? I mean, who says, okay, this is a certifiable program?
Good question. No, good question. I've asked other people who have certifications, and it doesn't seem that there is necessarily an overarching body. There are certain organizations that have developed their own certification, of course, like the American Red Cross, for example.
So you would do the same. You would develop your own certification.
Right. Our focus is a little bit different. We focus on the competitive swimming skills for the technique and the effective and efficiency in the water that helps a person become, even if there's no interest in becoming competitive. It's about, for those people who would like to embrace swimming as part of their exercise regime, the opportunity to really take full advantage of it. I'm sure I'm sure that you have seen that person beat their way across the pool, right?
Exactly.
They get to the other end, and it's one and done, baby.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Right.
I know.
So, you know, we really want to help them, give them the right technique so that they can do many laps.
What I'd like to talk to you about is, I understand that you also teach disabled children. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that is a very important aspect of your organization.
Yes, we've had the opportunity to work with a Down syndrome boy who is now swimming multiple laps of the pool, freestyle and backstroke. It's wonderful. We work with some children on the autistic spectrum as well. The challenge for us is that although we give small, our student to instructor ratio is quite low in comparison to other programs. We are no more than 5 students to an instructor, and oftentimes it's really 2 or 3. So with us, you're getting semi-private lessons, really.
Yeah.
But certainly for the children with some challenges, that's a one-on-one lesson. And so it would be wonderful if we could expand our programs to have some more volunteers to work with more children in this population, because it's fabulous for them. And there's something that's very compelling about the water. There's tactily and
it's
just
soothing
the joy,
too.
the joy of being in the water, and then to be able to develop skills in the water. It's fabulous.
Does it take a special type of coach or teacher to teach the disabled? I mean, everyone all your teachers are not able to do so?
Right.
Yeah.
It takes not only a skill in terms of the knowledge of the technique and how to apply it, but also, I think, a patience and an interest level to work with children who have challenges.
Now, I understand that I read that you taught someone, a young boy, who grew up in Antigua, never had a toe in the water.
You would think this is like so unique, but unfortunately it is not a unique circumstance.
I mean, and he lives in Far Rockaway, that he could throw a stone into the water and still never had a toe in his water. And then I believe Hurricane Sandy prompted his mother to be sure that he can learn.
Well, he actually went to his mother and said, Mom, you know, seeing the water coming up the street and into the house, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to learn how to swim.
Good
and he now knows how to swim. And his sister and his mom. Became a family affair. It's fabulous.
Now, do you teach differently in the pool and at the beach? Like,
we actually only teach
in the pool. Because it must be very different swimming. I mean, I find it extremely difficult to swim when the waves are coming.
Yes. You know, the pool is a much more stable environment, obviously, than the ocean is. Although last year, we do a couple of different events as fundraisers, and we so wanted to do an open water swim, but Sandy
took care of that.
The buoys were destroyed. So hopefully we'll do it this year. But it is always wonderful to watch the pool rats now have a chance to get in and swim in the ocean, because the tide and the waves and just even the breathing is different. And, you know, they come out streaming with seaweed and
covered in salt and bites from the jellyfish.
I did this event a number of years ago with a group in the Rockaways, and there literally was a school of bluefish feeding. And the swimmers had to swim through them. And bluefish I never knew how aggressive.
They're very aggressive.
So, yes, everybody was coming out with leaving a little bit in the ocean for the fish.
Well, I understand May is it what, National Water Month?
Yes, National Water Safety Month here in the U.S., and May 15th is International Water Safety Day.
So are you guys going to do anything special?
Yes. Last year in the Rockaways, we did our first International Water Safety Day, and so we gave free swim lessons to the community. The fire department came out and they did non-compression CPR. We had the local hospital come to talk about nutrition. Another water safety group came to talk about water safety in the home and other areas, not just in the water.
Tub.
To go back to the drowning rates for a moment, it is the leading cause of death. Drowning is the leading cause of death for children 5 years and younger.
That's incredible.
And this is a lot of this happens in the home.
Tell our audience how they can get involved with your National Water Safety Day, because it sounds like a fun thing, and parents may want to take children.
Well, we're in the planning session now. We will do one in Far Rockaway High School. We're trying to see if one of our partners in Brooklyn will encourage us to do it there as well.
And so you'll have it posted on your website?
We will.
Tell our audience your website.
www.swimstrongfoundation.org.
Okay, good, because I think that would be a wonderful thing for our audience to get involved in.
Yes, it's a free day for the community.
It's on a weekend when there's no school. That's wonderful.
Yes,
that would be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Now, we've been talking about volunteers a lot. What can volunteers do that don't want to swim?
Well, we have about 60 folks volunteering with us, most of them in the pool, but maybe 12 of them out of the pool, helping us with different marketing, putting flyers together, doing survey work for us. Community outreach is a big need for us. You'd think it would be easy to send a flyer to a local school and have them share it with their families.
Right.
Doesn't always happen.
Doesn't happen.
So our community advocates can help in that regard, because the more that we get the word out there as to what we are doing, the better it is. The more people can obviously know about us, find us, and get involved.
So you need volunteers in all 5 boroughs, I'm assuming?
Well, certainly in Brooklyn and Queens, and since we're coming now into Manhattan, yes, we are looking for affordable pool space here in Manhattan, so if anybody out there can help us in that regard, that would be great.
That would be wonderful.
That would be great.
Now, I know you have 3 different levels of swimming programs. Talk to me about Get Ready, Get Wet. What is that?
That's really the introduction.
Okay.
And a lot of the people who have fear, you referenced fear, certainly start there. And it is about really learning how one moves in the water, how to get comfortable being submerged in the water, how to position one's body in the water, so that particularly for adults, they can understand the physicality better and be able to be more open to actually learning now the skills of swimming.
Right.
So,
what about, you see on television a lot, people throw like a 3-month-old baby in the water. What?
Shawn Slevin does not recommend that. Okay. I know some people do it. I've heard stories time and time again.
It was on the news recently, and actually they were talking about abuse because they threw this kid in the water. And
not a good situation.
No. What age do you think a child, either toddler or whatever, what do you think is the basic age?
Well, there are programs, and my good friend Lenny Kraselberg, who is an Olympian from the 2000-2004 games, great backstroker, he runs his academies, and one of the things that he focuses on is the toddler. And it's really survival skills at that level, so that a child, once in the water, can flip over onto their back, and hopefully somebody will see them.
Exactly.
And then they'll be saved. But we work with children as young as 3 to 5 with an adult family member in the water with them. Yes,
in the water.
Even though we work in such small groups, it is imperative that there's always a dedicated pair of eyes on the child at that age.
And plus the comfort level for the child.
Yes, and the parent learns some of the skills, so they can reinforce that even at home in the bathtub. There's certain things that we do that they can help the child learn, because we're typically together once a week, sometimes twice a week, so anything that can be done outside of the lesson obviously helps the learning process. And then beyond that, we have our skill building, the Learn to Swim, and then the competitive swim program. We also do work with athletes that are interested in doing triathlons. Swimming typically is the weakest leg of that.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Is that because you're exhausted by the time you get into the water?
No, I think more people are runners or they're bikers. So swimming is not as universally embraced as I would like it to be.
I'm exhausted just watching a triathlon. So So segment 2 is learning how to breathe properly.
Well, that certainly comes with the Learn to Swim, absolutely, because that is such a cornerstone to understand that we breathe in through our mouth. Why? Because it's the biggest hole on our face. I mean, think about it, right? Just think about it. But seriously, big gulp of air, kind of let it hit the bloodstream, go around. It gives us energy and juice, if you will, and then exhaling it out the nose, because A, you can control the stream and the length, but B, what won't go up your nose if you're breathing out?
Exactly. Water.
Which is so distracting and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, and you get the proper head position and then therefore the proper body position. And again, it goes to being effective and efficient in the water so that you can do more.
Yeah. So step 1 of your training is getting wet. Step 2 is breathing. And then after that is
well, they're learning the skill. They're learning the kicking and the arm skills as well for freestyle and backstroke. And then when they're ready, we move them into learning butterfly and breaststroke as well. So all of the strokes, the starts, the turns, and some people, we even have some adults who are working at a more of a competitive level simply because they're enjoying it. They're challenging, yes, they're challenging themselves, so they want to learn more. And, you know, who knows where they'll take that at some point in time.
Yeah, well, and it's good that it'll translate down to their children.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely translates down to
How proud the children are to see their parents who have been afraid
exactly.
get into the water and learn to swim. It's amazing to watch.
Now, oh my goodness, we're getting cute. Where on earth did this half hour go? Exactly, it flew by.
It did.
But I think that your organization is such a worthwhile organization, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your vision, because it's a vision and it's a journey, and I think you're on the beginning of your journey. I think you have way more to go.
We want our organization to be global one day, because drowning is actually the second largest cause of death globally. It's just hard to imagine.
Well, on that note, I have to thank you so much for
Susan,
joining us. And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for joining us. If there's a program that you would like us to speak to, you can contact me at susan@behindtheshadows.com. If you've missed any of our programs, you can go on behindtheshadows.com and click on Public Access Television. And remember, until next time, the brightest light shines behind the shadows. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you had a good time.
It was fabulous.
Good. Didn't it go quick?
You made it so easy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's I just think this is a worthwhile organization.
I appreciate that support. And I think we got out the points the highlights that we wanted to, so thank you.
I had a lot of fill in here just in case, but I think we got on all the main topics.
And I hope that the humor too kind of comes across and is easy and makes it approachable.
Exactly. Yeah. First of all, I try to have the guests relax, but then I try to bring the audience into the discussion.
Yes.
So they stay.
No, you have definitely the gift.
The gift, the gab.
Well, I mean, I could see it in your writings, and so you have a way of engaging people.